and talking about betting lines. All that and more when we return.
Welcome to the Devy Devotional Podcast, a show devoted to college prospect evaluation with a fantasy football focus. With your hosts, John Arrington, Aaron Wilcox, and Andy Starr. This podcast brings you actionable strategies and player-driven analysis for your Devy, C2C, and Dynasty leagues. Let's dive in.
Let's dive into player props. Welcome into the Devy Devotional, where we stay devoted to Devy. I'm your host, John Arrington, joined as always by Aaron Wilcox and Andy Starr. And tonight, like I said, we're going to be playing Guess the Guy, getting back to it. Aaron finally manned up, showed up, and it's time for him to do Guess the Guy. He tried to avoid it, tried to get away from it, but here we are. And we've been wanting to do some gambling, like a gambling show, a betting show, talk about some player props and betting lines and things like that for a while. Unfortunately, those lines didn't really come out until just recently. So today was really the first day that we had a chance to truly do that. And so we finally do have some lines. Andy was gracious enough to get those lines for us, and we're going to cover some of these players and see what we can do. Unfortunately, we did not get every player that we wanted to talk about, and in fact, we did get one player, and unfortunately, that player tore his ACL the next day, so we had to pivot to another guy. Unfortunately, Quentin Joyner is not going to be getting too many yards this year. So enough of that. We'll get in guess the guy here in a minute, but first let's check in with the boys. Aaron, how are you doing tonight? You've been gone for a week or so.
Yes, had to miss a week there and kind of a busy stretch coming up here, but excited to join you guys as always. And yeah, it is my turn, like you said. We have a pretty close competition here, kind of wrapping up this series that we've been doing in the summer with Guess the Guy. So hopefully it's been a helpful exercise for everybody, kind of guessing along with us. Like, who is this guy? He had what share last year? So yeah, we'll see what Andy has cooked up for me.
Yeah, it is a very close battle. So this is the second to last week, and then next week will be the last week, and we will see. Can someone break a tie? Because we were all tied up at the end of the last round. Can someone break the tie, and will someone win the inaugural Guess the Guy challenge for Debbie Devotional? But we will see. I guess we'll see how nice Andy is tonight. If he's bringing the heat after what I did to him last time. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, and I feel like I was kind of out of line with my last two picks, so I took a more common, more a regular person, but it's still a little tricky. There's still some curveballs with this player. So, but he is a much higher ranked player than the ones that I've previously thrown out there.
Ooh, this is
Nice.
finally being nice, trying to help his buddy out after he missed a week.
Yeah, part of me just doesn't want John to win too, I think. So
Yeah, what the hell?
because you got, this turned into like guess the wide receiver because I think early on we've started to figure out that running backs are too easy to figure out. And John got two running backs. I don't think anyone else got a running back. So now it's become guess the wide receiver essentially. But it not saying that this is a wide receiver, by the way, but we'll find out. Yeah, I had to. I don't want you to win.
I can tell. Is this because I have all of the Elijah Thomas and all of the Tory Blaylock, and is that what this is?
Hey man,
Is this because I sniped you on Caden Lee?
It's August.
And Debbie, you like what? What's going on here? We got to get
That I
down to
was
the bottom of this.
that I did not appreciate. But Elijah Thomas and Tory Blaylock, I can forgive you for those because I'll be honest, I didn't have much interest, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. Elijah Thomas being compared to Malik Neighbors today. I don't know if you heard. So we'll get more into Elijah Thomas in a little bit. But why don't we go ahead and guess the guy? Let's guess the guy. Alrighty, Andy, you are up. Well, Aaron's up, but you are the one asking the question.
All right, Aaron, you want to take your stab in the dark here?
Sure, might as well. Let's see. I'm going to go running back. Like Andy said, we've been doing a lot of wide receivers on this show. I am due for a running back here. And he's a fun guy. A guy that we like, Javion Thomas, UCLA,
Ooh,
running back.
we do like Javion Thomas.
We do.
John likes him so much that he actually took him in a Devy league in like the 3rd round. So that's pretty insane, I will say. But hey, I don't hate it.
Not only did I take him, I took him with Andy's draft pick. So if he hits, not only did I take Javion Thomas, but I took him with one of your draft picks that you traded me from last year. So just remember that.
Well, I think I got Travis Hunter with the one you traded me last year to get this one. So we'll call it a wash.
A corner. I mean, we don't play IDP, so that doesn't really help you much. But
that's true. But no, it's not Javion Thomas, and it is also not a running back. This is guess the wide receiver, as you may have heard.
I was gonna say, did Aaron think that you were like bluffing by saying, "Oh, I guess it's transferred over to guess the wide receiver"? Like he was totally calling your bluff there.
He did. I did say like I made it a little bit easier for him, but no, not that easy. It is still guess the wide receiver. So this is a wide receiver.
Oh boy! All right, not that wide receivers is like that difficult, right? But there are more relevant, depth charts or whatever you want to say. So, all right. Well, we're going with the wide receiver here. Let me see. A little bit more obvious guy, but you never want to guess the top.
Maybe that wasn't a good idea. But go ahead.
No. I can't go too high in the ranks, right? We're not talking Jeremiah Smith. We're not talking Ryan Williams here, most likely. I'm going to go with a guy, middle tier, Hudson Clement, Illinois wide receiver.
Ooh.
That is an interesting guess. But it's not Hudson Clement. This is, I think market share is what we do next, right? Yes.
Yeah. Yes. It's on the show.
2020.
I'll look.
2024
actually,
market
sorry.
share for.
One second. No, it's year in college. Oh, actually, no. You're right. It is share. Yeah. Sorry, I was just trying to go off memory here.
All right. Well, we'll do market share. And this player in 2024 had a 9% receiving yards market share. 9%.
And I did double check. It is market share next, and then year in college after that.
Yes. 9%. It's pretty rough.
It's a little low.
Very, very low. At least for a relevant top end guy, right? Typically we want 20+%. Not that 20 is the magic number, but
9%.
And for a first year guy,
Isaiah Bond.
He finally got signed somewhere.
He did. Of course, it was Cleveland.
9%. Sorry, I'm just even trying to think of guys who were like still relevant that were that bad.
We're gonna need
season.
a guess, Aaron.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Can't be here all night.
Man, Andy's throwing me for a loop. He
Deion
said,
Burks, Oklahoma.
Great.
No, it is.
Player.
Is not Deion Burks. I like that guess. This is a third-year player. He will be entering his third year in 2025.
Third year. So it's not Evan Stewart. That's another guy I was thinking who's, maybe still high enough in ranks, but had a pretty bad season. But he was higher than that. Man, that's a tough one.
I wonder if the Deion Burks excitement was a hint, or if he just really liked the guess.
Right.
I'll tell you once we're all done why I got excited.
Okay.
Deuce Robinson, transfer from USC to Florida State.
It's not Deuce Robinson.
I actually like that guess.
So we move on to conference, where this player is in the SEC, Southeastern Conference.
Okay, third-year guy.
Third year, 9%. SEC. This is a tough one. Andy
Yeah,
said
it
he,
is.
he made it easy for you, and he would lied.
I could make it. It could make it like a no-brainer. I mean, and it's also guess the guy. I feel like none of them are just home run easy.
No.
Right, right. But yeah, got to be a third year guy. I'm just racking my brain here. Nick Harbor, South Carolina, wide receiver slash tight end.
Nick Harbor is not correct. Another good guess. I don't think he quite got to 9%.
I'm gonna
This
check.
one should give it away. This next hint here.
That's right.
This player plays for the Florida Gators.
Eugene Wilson, wide receiver.
It is Eugene Wilson, and I'm a little bit sad that I didn't get to say my rhyming word because I was going to say Blue Gene Nielsen, which sounds like a country western band or something. But no, it is Eugene Wilson. Well done. And the reason I like the Dion Burks guess is because you were on the right train of thought with like maybe a player who got injured, I think, which is what happened with Eugene Wilson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And that's a good pull there. I mean, obviously a guy who's still ranked pretty high, and I mean, I don't know that any of us really love Eugene Wilson out there, but if he can have, a healthy season, he probably should be productive this season. I mean, there's just not a lot of experience on that team. There's young freshman talent, obviously. There's whatever J. Michael Sturdivant is, which is, just basically like he's going to run the outside. He's like, what's his name? Who's blowing up right now for the Chargers?
McConkey?
Oh, Keandre Lambert Smith.
Yeah, he's like
Yeah.
Lambert Smith, right? And a worse version of him for sure. But just a guy who kind of like he's gonna be a starter out there in college, but he's not gonna be good. He's not gonna be productive. And I mean, I'm surprised that Lambert Smith's doing so well in the preseason, but I don't expect that to necessarily last or translate to like real NFL production. But we'll see.
Yeah, I've been a little bit surprised by the KLS love from everyone, but then again, you think about the fact that he's dealt with pretty poor QB play basically his entire college career, and then you go, hey, maybe he just needed a QB, Nicholas Harbour, by the way, had a 13% market share last year, so
Wow.
actually a little bit better than the 9%. Remember, Nicholas Harper's going to be what was it, the wide receiver one or something in one of those preseason things.
Like the first way too early mock draft of
Yeah, the way
2026.
too early. He was like wide receiver one overall. It was like, yeah, that'll happen.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Eugene Wilson, we actually did talk about all of the Gators wide receivers. Andy and I at least did last week when we were going over, with some of these injuries. Like Eugene Wilson's still hurt, and so we know he's already missed a lot of time. He's a low A-dot player. Like we're not overly excited about him. But a lot of people are, and so I mean, it definitely was a good pick because it was not necessarily an easy one, but yet he's still considered like top 10, top 15 by a lot of people and a lot of sites and everything. I struggle with even like DLF's rankings with the other Devy rankers. Like I just go, man, we got to get this Eugene Wilson ranking down a little bit because he's way too high for my liking, but. Yeah, it's that's tough, but it is a good player to talk about, and he has explosiveness to his game. He has excitement. There's things to like about Eugene Wilson. I just need to see a big leap forward before I actually get excited about him.
I feel the same way.
He feels the same way. And speaking of how we feel about these players, why don't we dive into Devy? And by dive into Devy this time, I mean let's look at some player props. Let's look at some betting lines and try to figure this out. Last year, Andy and I did this when we were still on separate pods. Aaron doesn't get into the betting as much, so we didn't do it on the Devy Devotional, but we did do it on Devy University. And I will never forget because it was the funniest lines that you've ever seen. But it was Travis Hunter over under 6 touchdowns, and Andy and I completely nailed it because we both, well, we completely failed it and we completely nailed it because we said that he was going to be under that. But we also both caveated it saying if he was not under, he was going to absolutely demolish that line. And, of course he did. And he had whatever he had, 15 touchdowns or whatever the hell he had. It was just one of those things where, like, was he going to take a step forward and play that much offense and things like that? And at the time, it just didn't seem like he was going to. Clearly he did. But then there was another one, and it was oh man, what's his freaking name?
Casey Concepcion.
Casey Concepcion. Thank you very much. He had the same exact line, 6 touchdowns, and we said there's no way in hell it's happening. He goes out, puts up 3 touchdowns in week 1, and we're like, well, this isn't looking too good. Dude did not top 6 touchdowns for the season, so we got that one right. And there was also some other ones, mixed in, that we probably did pretty well with. I don't really remember, but why don't we get into them? Andy found all these lines for us, so Andy, why don't you hit us with the first one?
All right. Well, the first one is kind of a interesting prop, and this was put out by DraftKings, and it's a combination of Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams receiving touchdown total. So they give you 4 options: 20 or more, 22 or more, 24 or more, or 26 or more. So in my eyes, if you bet 20 or more and they end up scoring like 26 or more, that's still a winner, but you just win less money.
Sure.
But if you do want to go ahead and go up to 26 or more, then you're getting like 5.5 to 1 odds. So the
Okay.
20 or more would be basically even money.
To be clear, and if it's different for some of them, then let us know. But are these all regular season only
Yes.
lines?
So everyone we talk about 12 game regular season. So if they go to a bowl game, if they go to like a championship game, if they make the college football playoff, those would not count towards their total.
All right, Aaron. Well, we got to sit here and figure out. And what was it? 22, 24, and 26, or
Yeah,
was
so
there
it
another
starts
one
at
in there?
20 and then it goes up by 2 all the way up to 26, progressively making more money as you climb the ladder.
Does it actually give you the odds or no?
Yeah, yeah. So 20 plus is basically even money. 22 or more is like 1.5 to like 3 to 2 odds. So like a blackjack. Uh, 24 or more would be 3 to 1, and then 26 or more would be 5.5 to 1.
All right, Aaron. What are you thinking? Because I have an idea of how I'm feeling about this one.
Yeah, so when I'm just looking at this, I can't just translate over what they did last year. They combined for 23 touchdowns last year. Jeremiah Smith being the more productive one, at least in the touchdown department, that's for sure. 15 touchdowns, and Ryan Williams with 8. And though there are question marks at both quarterback positions for Ohio State and Alabama, we both expect these guys to be very much focal points and competent offenses out there. I mean, even if you don't love Sayan and the other options they have there, they're going to be forced to throw the ball a bunch this year. They don't have Trevion. They don't have Quinshon Judkins. They have a little bit younger, more unproven running back core at Ohio State and Alabama. Well, they got great coaching as far as maybe some quarterback development there. We'll see what Ty Simpson has for them. But when I'm looking at this line, I mean, I feel pretty confident with them crushing the 22 mark. It's just when you start getting more than that, I don't know. I don't know that I feel so confident because we know that injuries happen, and we also know that some of those stats. I mean, that's from an extended season, right? That's from being in the playoffs for Ohio State. So
Yeah.
I don't know that I feel confident with them like blowing that out of the water. But getting to 22, yeah, that's kind of where I'm starting to lean there.
So I'm really just wondering. My feeling is that Jeremiah Smith is essentially tapped out. Like as far as like rising in touchdowns. Like I'm not expecting it. Not to say that he can't. He obviously has the talent to do it. I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm saying give him a first time starting QB and all that. I don't think he's going to surpass his 15 touchdowns, and that 15 touchdowns was in 16 games last year. So we're actually taking 4 games away. So what are we talking about? Maybe 12 touchdowns, something, and that's what I'm kind of thinking. I'm thinking like 12 touchdowns for him. So then you're really looking at Ryan Williams. Do you think that Ryan Williams can get 8 touchdowns? I think he can. Do I think he can get 10 touchdowns with Ty Simpson? And I don't know, man. I think I'm leaning really that 20. I don't want to go any higher than that. And honestly, like I feel like if you're giving me the line of 20 and I'm saying I feel like they can get to 20. So I almost want to bet the under, but I guess that's not even a possibility here. But, if you're giving it to me, I would almost just want to take the under and just say somebody misses a week or two, or something like that happens, and because I really think it's going to be right around that 20 mark when it's all said and done.
And you hate to try to project injuries, but we just understand those things happen. Even if they're a little bit banged up, they want to protect their star player. They might rest him a week against a pretty mediocre team that they might have otherwise blown up for like 4 touchdowns against, right? A G5 team. They don't need to play Ryan Williams. They don't need to play Jeremiah Smith. They probably won't, and their stats could certainly suffer there too.
So my thoughts are, and if you guys are wondering, all 8 of Ryan Williams' touchdowns last year happened in the regular season,
Okay.
and 12 of Jeremiah Smith's 15 happened in the regular season. So they would have combined for 20 last season. Um, I think that 12 is completely reasonable for Jeremiah Smith. He doesn't have Emeka Egbuka. I don't think there's anyone else that is going to be like a red zone or target earner that is on the same level as Emeka Egbuka on this team in 2025. And 12 is completely reasonable, maybe even higher. It all depends on how effective Julian Sayin is, honestly, now that he's been named the starting quarterback. For Alabama, Ryan Williams, again, a new quarterback with Ty Simpson down there. Maybe a little bit of a better thrower than who they had last year. Perhaps not. Whose name is now escaping me. I don't know. Jalen Milrow,
Jalen
excuse me.
Milrow.
Yeah, but I do think 8 is, again, attainable. So I'm kind of with John. I think if you're going to make a bet, don't get greedy and go for the 22. Just say let's go with 20 and get our money back, and then move on from there. Because 22, you're getting 3 to 2. So if you bet $10, you'd get 15 back, or you'd get 25 back total. But I don't want to get too greedy because it might end up being like 2021, and like what John said, somebody misses a game or somebody sits out the second half of a blowout or something. You just never know. So 20, it just seems like it's gonna happen to me. It probably could be higher, but I'm just not feeling like I want to be greedy about it. So I would bet the 20 and over. And if there was like an over under, I don't know if they would do that. Under would probably wouldn't have plus odds either, just because of all those variables. That's why it's a casino. They're trying to make money.
Yeah.
But I think 20's somewhat safe, and if it goes higher, hey, you still win some money.
I mean, I think the way to look at this one in particular is there's just too much unknown, with the new QBs and stuff. Even if we just had one of them, we believe in the talent of Ryan Williams. We believe in the talent of Jeremiah Smith. If just one of them had the same returning quarterback, we're probably smashing an over here or something like that. But even though we don't think that Will Howard's some amazing quarterback. We definitely don't think Jalen Milroe's some amazing quarterback. But just having consistency, having the known versus the unknown would give me just a little more belief to say, okay, maybe we go to 22 and we try to have some fun with it and make some money on it. But I honestly think, as boring as it is, I'm going with the lowest level here. And honestly, like I said, if they gave me some odds, I might even try to go with the under and try to, steal some money that way. Alrighty, so we got the Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams combo touchdowns. I think that's the only one we're gonna have where it's 2 players in one, if I am right. And so why don't we get to the next one? What do you got for me? I think we have a Jeremiah Love rushing line.
Yeah, we're gonna do the Jeremiah Love rushing yards total. And this is on FanDuel. It's at 1,075 yards, 1,075 and a half yards, over under. You're getting the same odds for over and under on this particular prop.
All right, so I had Aaron start off the last one, so I guess I will start here. And honestly, when I started looking, or when Andy submitted these and said, hey, we're going to give you lines, a lot of times we go in blind on these pods, but with betting lines and things like that, Aaron and I were saying, hey, why don't we have the actual name so that we can try to figure this stuff out and give actionable information to people, rather than just being like, yeah, whatever, 25 touchdowns, who cares, so I started looking at it, started thinking about it, and I really thought Jeremiah Love is just going to crush this season. I really think he's going to take a step forward, all that kind of stuff. Once I started diving into his numbers from last season, I took a pretty big step back and said, I don't know that he can take a step forward from last season. I just don't realistically think he can. The only thing I think he could really do is have more rushing attempts, but the fact that he obviously missed time in the playoffs last year, they got him back for the championship game, but was he 100% healthy and all that kind of stuff? They obviously have quality talent on that team with Jadarian Price, Aeneas Williams. We wish that Keidron Young didn't get hurt, but I believe with the two of them, they still have enough talent to where they can say, hey, we can spell Jeremiah Love and not have to give him 20 touches a game. He had one game last year over 15 rushing attempts. And it was one game, it was 16 rushing attempts. Any other game he was below 15, and in fact a lot of the games he was closer to 13, 11, 12, things like that. I believe he had 134 rushing attempts last year, if I remember correctly, in the regular season, I should say. So obviously that's what we're looking at here. So, but he also almost averaged, or he averaged 6.9 yards per attempt, per rush attempt. And I'm looking at all the top end guys, and beyond your Mac players and stuff like that, 6.9 is about as high as you're gonna get, generally speaking, for these guys. So pulls a unless he pulls a Trevion Henderson like he did last year and goes 7.0, which would only be zero point 0.1 yards per carry higher than what he already did this past season, I'm really struggling to see. I think he went 100. He went 16 games, 163 attempts, 1,125 yards last year in 16 games. I'm going under. In fact, I'm smashing the under. I think they're going to try and save him a little more this year. I think they're going to actually give him less carries this year. And I just don't feel comfortable betting that line at all.
I'm in 100%
Yeah, I think he makes some really
agreement.
fair points. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Andy's in agreement, huh?
Well, I'll just rattle off what I was going to say real quick, but yeah, I mean, if you look at what he did in the playoffs last year, it was about 68 yards, 67 yards. So his season total last year was just under that 1,075 mark. And I think what FanDuel's trying to say is like, oh, well, he's in another year, we move forward, he's going to be even better. But the reason that Notre Dame is so good with their running backs and everything is because they also have Jadarian Price, and that takes some of the pressure off of Jeremiah Love. And there's no reason to give him 20 to 25 carries a game because they just don't need him to do that because they've got other talented running backs on this team. So he's still going to have a great season, but getting to 1,000 yards is going to be tricky. And if he does it, I don't think he's going to blow right by it. I think he'll just get there. I think his touchdown numbers will still be great, but to get to nearly 1,100 yards in a 12-game season is just very difficult. And given his workload, and I don't expect much things to change because there's just no reason to give him more opportunities when there's no need to do that. So I'm with you 100% to just go with the under here, especially given the same odds.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And like John said, and Andy even said too, I mean, a lot of it's not to do with the talent necessarily. Like he's an efficient running back. He's a good receiving back. We know that the explosiveness is there, but it's just a matter of volume and the depth at the position. And you guys mentioned, yes, I mean, a little bit of injury hitting the room there, but not enough to considerably diminish the talent there. I mean, we still have Jadarian Price, like you said. You have Aeneas Williams, and you guys did a podcast, Next Man Up, just recently without me, and there was no mention of Nolan James, which I think is a travesty as well, because Nolan James is an excellent incoming freshman who is he was one of the most impressive players for Notre Dame at the running back position in the spring. So I think he
blame
was
our lads.
actually. Yeah, and that's fine for sure. But you guys got to know these things, you know. That Nolan James is going to be the future there. I don't know about Keidron anymore, but I do think that James is a pretty solid back. But it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. He's not going to see a lot of playing time. We know that Jeremiah Love is going to eat up the bulk of the carries, but like you said, he needs more volume to get there. I don't know that he does so. But looking at their schedule this season. I mean, their most difficult games. I mean, it's like Texas A&M. Like Miami's not a good defense, right? Texas A&M, okay. Arkansas could put up a little bit of fight, but I mean, it's Arkansas. Like USC, no, they're not good. Like you go down the list and you start looking, even at Stanford at the end of the year, Syracuse, Pittsburgh, Navy. I mean, these guys, they could rack up a lot of production this season. So, anyways, I am tempted to take that over with Jeremiah Love, partially because I just like him as a player and I believe in that talent. But like you said, volume is king at the running back position. So it's a tough proposition there. I think I'm outnumbered here anyways, like, 2-1. I would probably just go with the under at this rate. But there was a couple of games last season where he just didn't get a lot of carries. Maybe they didn't need him or other reasons, but I think he's going to have a really good season this year, probably even better than last season, with only 163 carries last year.
Yeah, it's obviously not impossible. I just wonder because I feel like it's one of those things where if he gets more carries, he'll probably be less efficient. But that you could probably say that about just about any player. Looking at Audric Estime, 2 years prior, he only had 210 rushing attempts in 12 games, but he obviously broke that mark. He was at 1341 when it was all said and done. But that was when Jeremiah Love. That was when I was out of love with Jeremiah Love because it didn't seem like he was going to become a thing. I just think that Jadarian Price and Aeneas Williams are better than what Jeremiah Love was in that season as far as a backup. And obviously, Audric Estime was 225 pounds of rocked up solid steel. And so they could just, give him the rock as many times as possible. So even if we take away any kind of injury prone labels or anything like that, I just don't think they want to do that to him. And I think they want him to be healthy for the playoffs. They're looking at a season and saying we can go. We just made it to the national championship. We can easily make it to the national championship again. We just need to stay healthy, be healthy. And you're talking about how easy their season is. That doesn't make me think all of a sudden they're going to give Jeremiah Love more touches. If anything, that makes me think he's going to get less touches because they're going to say we're salting this game away. We don't need to give Jeremiah Love anymore. So I really think he's going to be right around that 10 to 15 mark every week. And, you're looking at probably 120, 130, touch or rushes. Because, if we're talking about touches, obviously it's a different story, but we're talking about rushes here. And I think we're looking at right around like 120, 130. And I think, it's going to be close, but I really do think I feel better about that under.
Yep. And we know the running back position and the injuries there. So that's a very fair case to be made for that under. What do we got next?
So I feel like I told Andy, I said, I feel like you're going to be kind of surprised by my answers because a lot of times, especially in the past, maybe I'm growing as an analyst, who knows, but in the past, I've always been like, man, I won, give me that over. I'm smashing the over. And yet here I am saying under for the last two. So we'll have to see if that continues or not.
Yes. Speaking of smashing the over, passing touchdowns, Arch Manning, FanDuel.com has it right now for the regular season at 25.5. And since you guys each got a swing first at the last ones, I think I'll go first here. I'm hitting the over big time. I think if you just look at what Quinn Ewers did last year, he had 31 touchdowns. I know they had a couple playoff games mixed in there, but he also missed a start to one Arch Manning in that season as well. So if Arch is putting in a full season in a Steve Sarkisian offense with with similar weapons. He still gets Ryan Wingo. He gets Emmett Mosley, who's a step up from what they had last year, which was DeAndre Moore, who played primarily in the slot. Um, and then you also get the I can't remember the third. Well, that's their three main receivers. They won't have Gunnar Helm at tight end, so he was kind of a surprise out of not necessarily out of nowhere, but I think he's a replaceable talent at tight end as well.
Isaiah
So
Bond.
yeah, Isaiah Bond was there as well, but I think between Ryan Wingo and if they're moving DeAndre Moore outside, uh, you know, it's similar. It's a similar receiving core to what they had last year. I know Matthew Golden was a first round pick, but I think Ryan Wingo could be that eventually, and perhaps even Emmett Mosley at some point if he has a big season for Texas. So I think he could easily get a 30 touchdown season. Steve Sarkisian, we know he's an offensive guru. He's great with the passing game. If he's healthy, I don't see any reason why he can't get past that 26 mark with relative ease. I know you're talking over 2 touchdowns a game, but this is Texas. They're going to be playing a couple of cakewalks. I know uh, they get Ohio State to start, which is going to be a tricky game, but it's just an offense that you need to be excited about, and it's a quarterback who we're all definitely excited about and expecting big things. So I think he can do it.
What do you think, Aaron?
So I am taking the over as well. I have a lot of confidence in him and limited sample size last year. He had what 9 touchdowns, I want to say. Very much a great flash there, just playing kind of part time or spot starting. And like you said, Quinn Ewers was able to do it. I think that even with some departing and revolving chairs there at that wide receiver room, they've reloaded. They even brought in the tight end Jack Andrews from Cal, who is just quietly very productive and should step right in and be a very productive receiving threat. A couple of quite a few very talented freshman incoming receivers there, some of which might sneakily play a role at some point this season. Yeah, I think that the ascension of Ryan Wingo and some of those other wide receivers playing a solid role there, including Emmett Mosley, DeAndre Moore. It's formidable enough with Arch obviously being very, very great talent at the quarterback position. I'm just taking that over. I feel like he's going to. There's no reason to think that he shouldn't be very productive. Like you said, Ohio State, yeah, hard for him to surpass maybe 3, 4 touchdowns in there, but still, I mean, you said it's over 2 per game. I think he can easily get there, assuming health this season, which, we have no reason to think that he's banged up or anything right now.
Yeah, so obviously I know we can't compare, smallish samples and say this is exactly what's going to happen. But if we just look at what Arch did last season when he took over for an injured Ewers, or in the games that he had passing attempts, he threw for 9 touchdowns on 90 attempts, and Ewers had 31 touchdowns on 445 attempts. And so if we combine those numbers, if we say that Arch ends up having closer to that 450 attempts, something around 400 attempts, whatever it might be, you're looking at 1 touchdown per every 10 yards or 10 attempts. I mean, I'm sorry. And so you're looking at 45 touchdowns for Arch if he has a similar season as far as passing and all that kind of stuff. But looking at what he actually did as a player. Obviously we're asking for 25 touchdowns here. That was the line, right? 25. So I think I'm not saying I'm not betting 45. I'm not betting 40. But if you gave me a line of 35, I honestly think that I would realistically bet it, assuming the odds were good and that it actually made sense and that kind of thing. But I really do think we expect Arch to be a much better player than Quinn Ewers, and that's not. We've had some fun with Ewers in the past, but this isn't joking or anything like that. We truly believe that Arch Manning is a much better player than Quinn Ewers. At the very least, the wide receiver talent is similar. Obviously, it's changed, it's different, but I don't know that anyone truly thinks that Texas is all of a sudden a bad wide receiver core or anything like that. That anything's drastically changed for this team, and I think we saw accuracy. We saw the big playability with Arch. We saw all that kind of stuff. So yeah, give me that smash over. I guess I'm not a completely changed man. I can still do the over when I need to.
And truthfully, it's just the right thing to do. Like you said, he's getting a touchdown every 10 attempts. There's probably going to be some negative regression there in some regards, just because that's an insane pace to be on. But 30 touchdowns seems entirely reasonable for a guy that we all think is the best college quarterback in the nation right now.
Yeah, exactly. I think that Vegas is getting a little too skewed by your Drew Allers and players like that, that are supposed to be these amazing QBs, and yet they're only throwing for 20 touchdowns a year and stuff. I think we're seeing, I think we're going to get back to some actual, like, I don't want to say gunslinger because I generally look at gunslingers as a bad thing as far as QBs go and everything. It's very rarely is it a good thing for QBs, but I don't know. But getting back to actually passing and scoring and high scoring games, winning big games, not just barely squeaking by and hoping that your defense does enough or whatever it might be. But actually, speaking of Alar, I think that we have a Drew Alar line, do we not?
We do. We can jump to that one too, since we're on the quarterbacks. This is coming from Prize Picks. Um, so I don't play Prize Picks. I know it's a little different than your typical betting markets where you have to pick like two or three things at once, and all of them have to hit, or if like three out of four hit, you win money. I don't know exactly, but I think the line should still be, similar to if it was a betting line. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be. Uh, but for Aller, they have his over under passing yards at 2,500.5, so basically 2,500 yards.
All right, so with this one, we're looking at a completely revamped wide receiver core. We're looking at their main receiving option in the tight end leaving. So I think that it makes me want to go under, but then you look at that line, you just say, how can you go under 2,500? Like how bad would it have to be under 2,500? I know he had Lar that is had 3,327 yards in 16 games. So I mean, he was pretty close to that mark anyway, and I I think that when you start thinking about the fact that they're missing that dynamic. Well, why can't I think of the freaking tight end's name? Like what what is going on?
Tyler Warren from last year.
Yes, Tyler Warren. When they lose Tyler Warren and his dynamism, or at least what he was to that offense, I don't even know if he truly is as dynamic as people make him out to be. But like what he was to that offense, and they lose that. I get they add like Trevor Pena and things that are going to make the receiver core look a little bit better, but look at how much Tyler Warren meant to that offense last year and what they did. I really feel like this is another one where I'm right on the line, and it makes me want to just go with the under because there's so much unknown as far as, you know, every single one of their starting wide receivers is an incoming transfer. There's not a single player that was here before. The tight end is not a transfer, but it's no one that we don't expect Khalil Dinkins to all of a sudden become Tyler Warren. So I really think I want to go with the under here, and it seems kind of crazy because it's 2,500 yards, in college football. It seems wild, but I really do think I want to go with the under here.
Yeah, I didn't. It's Aller, so I'm not very confident that he's going to throw for a ton of yards. When I think of Penn State, I think of Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. They're dual running backs who both ran for 1,000 yards last season, and people look at what Aller did last season, see 3,300 yards. Yes, that included a championship game and two playoff games, but if you take those away, he still had nearly 2,800 yards passing. So was Tyler Warren that important to the cumulative passing game. And I don't know that that's the case. Yes, they're bringing in a lot of transfers. It's a lot of new faces. I like Pena, who came in from Syracuse. I think he's going to be a pretty reliable receiver for them. And Drew Lars has been in the system now for 4 years. So you got to expect him to not really regress. I think they're going to not necessarily lean on him, but they're going to expect him to do what he did last year. So to that end, I do think it is close too. If the line was 2,800, which he got last year, I would probably be saying under just based on losing Tyler Warren. I just don't think the loss of Tyler Warren is going to take away 300 yards from his total in a season. So I would not confidently bet the over, but I would bet the over just because it's a low number. It does feel a little trappy, but I just don't expect him to regress that much. I think that there's still some talent there. The running game does open up opportunities for the passing game. So that's just kind of where I'm at right now. It's just such a low number that Aller's he's got to do it. He's got to get at least 2,500.
Does it make you feel any better or worse that I just took away his playoff games from last year and he, with Tyler Warren, threw for 2,668 yards in 12 games?
Oh, is that what you got? I took away his playoff games. Maybe I missed one. No. Drew Aller last year.
Yeah,
He had
3,327. I
yeah,
took
then
away
3 games. 226, 171, 135. I think it was about 2,800 yards because it was like 550 that he passed for in the playoff, roughly. I don't know. You might have to check your math, or maybe you have to check my math. Either way, it's like it's 26.
take away. You got to take away 4 games. It was the conference championship, then the
and then
CFB
2 playoff
first
games.
round.
There was 2 playoff games. He didn't
then
play in
the
the third
CFB quarterfinal, and then the CFB semifinal. So 4
Right,
games
so
altogether.
No, there was only 3 because I'm only seeing the quarterfinal. We're off the rails now. The Big Ten championship and 2
right?
playoff games. They only played in 2 playoff games, I think, right?
No,
Maybe
3.
it was.
SMU, Boise State, Notre Dame. Aaron's like, "Can I talk?" Or
Oh,
are
yeah.
you guys just going to
Oh,
argue
yeah.
about this the entire time?
You're right.
Well, either way,
you know why
John showed, if that's true, it's close.
You're right, because SMU is listed as week 16 on PFF for some reason. So you're right. So it's minus another 100. He only had 127 yards in that game.
Yeah, so it's
So-
2,600. What did I say? 68.
So let's
yeah,
round that up to
2,668.
2,700. It's a little bit more dicey, but I think I'm still taking the over. Like, let's say Tyler Warren, without him, like his total goes down. They still are going to have to rely on the passing game. Like if Penn State wants to win games, they're still going to need him to throw the ball. Doesn't matter who it goes to. With Tyler Warren there now gone, there's going to be other people that get those numbers. It's not just going to be one player, but those numbers are still going to be there, I think.
Let's make it simple here. Penn State is going to be a great team this season. They're going to rely on the running game, but those guys are capable receiving threats as well. We have Quentin Martin as a RB3 who was actually a part-time wide receiver in high school too. So if they need to get creative, a guy who has a ton of yards after the catch ability. Same with Nick Singleton, right? Home run threat, a couple long screens, dump off passes to the house. And then, like you said, they've brought in 3 transfers, guys who have started many games or at least played a lot of college football and have some experience. So I'm not saying they're studs, right? I'm not saying they're going to have a 1,000-yard receiver on their team, but they're going to have enough competent players where a pretty solid college quarterback. I like Alar a lot, honestly. I've been, I think, maybe the highest on the podcast on him. But anyways, I think there's NFL traits there. I think he's proven it the last 2 years beating that mark, or at least in his sophomore year with 13 games, it was 2,600 and some change. So I think that he continues to progress as a quarterback. regardless of those weapons, we are not even talking about the tight end position. We're just saying, poof, all these yards are gone. Luke Reynolds is a very talented guy. They have some other guys, whether we want to say Rappliea, Dinkins, who could also put up some stats there. We know what Penn State has done at the tight end position of late, developing guys, next man up, very productive guys at that position typically. And friend of the show, Felix Sharp, just shouted out that Luke Reynolds will be the tight end one in college football this season, or at least in Devy landscape. So obviously there are people out there projecting a very big leap forward now with Luke Reynolds going into his second season. Either way, I think Drew Illar makes it work. Like Andy said, they got to throw the ball. Let's go over, though it's not like he's going to be throwing for 4,000 yards this season. It's going to make you sweat a little bit if you take this bet.
Yeah, our friend Felix Sharp also was saying Baron Morton was going to be a high second round pick. So we might have to take that with a little grain of salt with the Luke Reynolds talk. But we need to make sure we do a little check on Felix, make sure everything's okay.
Yeah. No, I think his Luke Reynolds tweet was just in response, to say this is going to be the Devy or the CTC tight end one as of right now. I don't think necessarily from a production standpoint this season.
I mean,
right,
are there any good tight ends right now? So I mean,
right.
it's not, and I'm not even saying anything against Felix. He could very well be right about Luke Reynolds here. I mean, it's not that difficult to say that any tight end could be the tight end one right now.
Yeah, that's how I feel every year.
I don't know. This year feels even worse than others. I'm literally looking at Devy Beth, and I'm just like, man. These players, I literally have players like Michael Smith is showing up in Devy Beth, not even as a great player or anything like that, but just showing up in Devy Beth as one of the higher end tight ends, and he's never done a damn thing. And it's just this is not good. This is not a good year.
Where's the line for Kenyon Sadiq? Because in our hot take show, I predicted that Kenyon Sadiq will be a 1,000-yard receiver. And I don't
236 yards.
That is on Prize Picks actually, and it's not 1,000. So I already know that Aaron's going to be smashing the over here. But Kenyon Sadiq's receiving yards total for the season on Prize Picks is 499.5 yards.
You got to smash that. Maybe I need to join just to smash the over.
Okay, so we got a question in the chat. Jeff says, so I don't need Luke Reynolds on my CFB team this year. I guess it depends on what kind of CFB. Are you talking about CFF? Are you talking about, best ball? Or, what are we talking here? C2C? Because if you're just talking about Devy, I'm not going crazy with Luke Reynolds. But if you're talking about something else, maybe we can get into it.
Yeah, in a dynasty format, definitely you have to prioritize him. Just the chance that he goes off, right? We know, again, some of the history there. We know he was a talented guy coming out of high school. But yeah, for a redraft type of CFF, C2C league, just looking at this season, that's tough to expect big-time stats. But, I mean,
all right, Andy, I'm sorry. Did I cut you off? What was the line here for Sadiq?
No, I said it. It's 499.5.
499. Okay, so not quite 1,000 yards. Oh, Jeff does say, sorry, autocorrect. It was CFF. Yeah, and I mean, I think it's here's the thing. I would say no. We don't need to go absolutely insane with Luke Reynolds in CFF. But that being said, I don't know that there's that many better options. The only player that I will say, I will guarantee you is the best option ever or the best option as a tight end this year is Justin Jolie. He's the best tight end in all of college football, and he will be the tight end one when it's all said and done. Get the hell out of here with your Kenyon Sadiq love. 499, we're going under. Dude has a 2.3 ADOT. Doesn't know how to run down the field. Under 499 yards. Smash.
Oof, we got to clip that one. Save it for later.
Yeah. I didn't have a strong opinion on Kenyon Sadiq one way or the other, but I feel like didn't Terrence Ferguson beat that last year or come pretty darn close? It had to have been
Yeah, he was
close.
close. I can look it up.
Uh, I'm pulling it up right now as well. But Terrence Ferguson had
I can
591, and then that was of course including all their uh, playoff games. They had two, so he had 100 yards in the playoffs and
But
stuff. So he
Terrence
would have been
Ferguson
just
isn't scared to run past the line of scrimmage, though. So that's a completely different game, you know.
yeah. But Ferguson was at 490 on this, or yeah, 490 on the season. So I don't know. It's close. I think Kenyon Sadiq. Maybe I'm just getting lost in the sauce with like the offseason hype on him, but I would probably say he's better than Terrence Ferguson. So I would probably lean the over, but I don't know. He's not doing a
Ferguson
thousand.
also Ferguson also did not break 415 receiving yards until his senior season this last year. So I mean, it's not like smash the over or something like that. Just because Kenyon Sadiq is taking over this spot, it's not especially with Evan Stewart not being out there and things. It's not unbelievable, and I'm joking around, but like honestly, I don't even hate that line. 499's not bad. The 1,000 yards, we gave him a Diablo for a reason, but I think 499 is not bad. I still would go under just because I truly don't believe in the player, but it's honestly one that I probably wouldn't bet. I'm not betting too many tight end lines, but it was still a fun line to go over because of, what we're what we're talking about here and because of the hot takes pod.
Well, we got about 5 minutes left. Do you guys want to call out anyone else you're interested in? The lines on Prize Picks are more prevalent, but they do have like some of the higher end guys like Jordan Tyson. Um, you got
you
uh,
said Bryson
Elijah Surratt.
Washington.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Bryson
do Bryson
Washington.
Washington.
Okay, we
Well, with that recent injury to Dawson Pendergrass too, I mean, that's going to shift things. So I don't know how that works, if they're going to kind of amend that, what's available there, or if you can take advantage of it and smash it now, like maybe you could lock in a little bit better bet there. Because, I mean, I think Bryson Washington, he's going to eat this year. He could be the RB1 overall in CFF in college football.
yeah, and it as it stands right now, it's still at 950 and a half. So I'm sure Prize Picks does adjust their lines, although last time I checked, Quentin Joyner was still on here. It looks like they did finally take him off. I do think they adjust their lines. So it is 950 and a half currently. And I think that's about where he was last year. And that's without starting most of the first few games of the season.
Yep, he was still at 1,000 yards without including that bowl game where he didn't rush for a whole lot against LSU. But yeah, with that step forwards, another year in the system, going to be the featured guy. I think he surpasses 175, or at least the 150 yard or 150 carry mark, and I think he surpasses 1,000 yards as a rushing threat there in the regular season. So I think you got to smash the over, in my opinion.
Is Pendergrass like hurt, or is he just
Yep,
gonna miss a
he's out
game
for
or
the
two?
year.
Oh, he's
I
out for
think
the
he's
year.
ACL. Yeah.
Okay,
I
I
want to
mean,
say.
not to say that all of a sudden not to say that all of a sudden Bryson Washington takes all of Pendergrass's rushing attempts, but Washington had 175 rushing attempts last year. Pendergrass had 121. So, even if he gets 10, 20, 30 or whatever, he already beat that line. I'm smashing the over. I don't think that line is making a lot of sense right there because I mean, the only thing I guess you could say is that maybe you expect them to throw more or something because of an injury, but it's not like he had some ridiculous amount of rushing attempts last year to where you could say, oh well, yeah, we can't expect him to have 250 rushing attempts again. Yeah, Andy said, do we want to talk about anyone else? I know Aaron didn't really want to talk about Oklahoma's backfield, but one of the lines we originally were looking at was Jaden Ott. And I'm looking at it and I'm just like, Jaden Ott is such a weird player because it's a player that I was basically all in on in the beginning of his career. And then it was mostly because no one wanted to touch him. And I was just like, well, I don't think he's the best thing that is, since sliced bread, but I also don't think that he's terrible. And yet people are saying he's terrible. Then it went to the complete extreme, and now everyone's like, no, he's the best running back in the history of the world. And yet, I'm like, well, look at it. he had 250 carries that year that he had 1,300 rushing yards. You know, how many running backs do you get that in college football that even get 250 carries? It wasn't out of, extreme efficiency or anything like that. It was volume. It was 100% volume against bad teams. And then looking at last year with Ott, it was he still had volume, but the thing is, he just wasn't as good. But he was still out there. He missed a couple of games because of injury, but I think the injuries are getting overhyped because people want him to be better than what he is, maybe. Uh, but he ended up playing most of the games, and then we look at Javian Thomas that we talked about earlier. How much I love him. Javian Thomas got the full workload in those two games that Jade Knott actually missed, but the rest of the time it was Jade Knott. And I completely just went off on a tangent. We were talking about Bryson Washington, but the point of the story is I don't think that Bryson Washington is completely like tapped or anything like that as far as rushing attempts and that kind of thing here. So I don't know that there's any reason to ever think that he's not going to make it beyond injury. And there's really no reason to bet on injury here or anything like that. And I just wanted to get my Jaden Knott piece, although the line was only like 600 yards or something like that, right, Andy? So it
Yeah,
wasn't
it's
even like Vegas is saying it was going to be some magical season for Ott. I think people, or maybe by people, I mean the fantasy, the CFF fantasy world, expect Ott to be that 1,300-yard rusher. And yet, I really think that it's going to be closer to that 600 yards that Vegas is looking at. Sorry, I went off on like 5 different tangents there, but I just wanted to get that out before we got out of here.
Well, to touch on Bryson Washington, agree with what everything Aaron said. I do think he will definitely go over and be 1,000-yard rusher this season, just because I expect him to get at least 25 to 30 more touches than he did a season ago. And if he can even, come close to what he did with those touches, it'll be an easy mark to hit. And then Jaden Ott, yes, I'm taking the under. There's just too many variables in the Oklahoma backfield right now to say that anyone's going to reliably even get 500 yards. If you gave me 500 yards, will any Oklahoma running back clear 500 yards? Yes or no? I might take no if the odds are good enough, because I honestly don't know that there's anyone on this team that's going to like establish themselves as the running back one.
Besides Torrey Blaylock, of course.
Of course.
My baby, who is actually getting so much praise. I don't know if it's going to happen this year. It's probably not going to happen this year, but holy crap, I've never been more excited about a player that no one talked about for 6 months, and then all of a sudden he's like the hottest thing ever in the past 2 weeks or whatever it is. Aaron, I rambled on for a while. What you're just sitting there? Are you confused? Did I confuse you, or what's going on here?
No, not confused. I just, like I said, I'm out on the Oklahoma betting and trying to project that because it's just completely contingent on health and guys either like Ott, like the transfer to a different level of competition and a whole new room, coaching staff, different scheme of running. You got Taylor Tatum there. You got Xavier Robinson. You got, like you said, Torrey Blaylock. It's a messy situation that I don't want to touch at all. So one of those ones where you kind of wanted to stay away from the Kenyon Sadiq line. I kind of want to stay away from any lines here, unless it's like a clear under kind of thing. Then I might be interested.
Wait, you of all people are not even betting the over 499 Kenyon Sadiq line?
Oh, I'm hammering that to be clear, but I'm not betting Oklahoma anything. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, there's one last player that I wanted to touch on because I actually think this one should be, and we're already over, so who cares? This should be one that is very relevant, and I think it could be contentious between the three of us here. So, Antonio Williams has a line, I believe it's 824.5 yards. Andy, what are we thinking here? I'm asking the question, so Andy, you start us off.
Oh, sorry, I'm muted. But that line has actually gone down on Prize Picks
Oh,
since
I'm
I told
shocked,
you.
personally.
It's now down to 799 and a half. So
Okay,
people
decent drop.
are people are saying maybe Antonio Williams isn't as good as we thought. Um, I've tried to pull up his stats last year just to see, how much was coming from playoff games and that sort of thing. But I think he finished with around 900 and some yards, 908. And if you look at his playoff performance, you've got two games, Texas and SMU, where he had about 116 yards. So less than 800 last year. So they're saying, can he do that again, essentially? And I think that both Wesco and TJ Moore are going to improve their market shares. And the only way that happens is by Antonio Williams decreasing his market share. So I'd hit the under on 800 yards here.
What do
Yeah, I
you think,
think it's
Aaron?
fair. Yeah, I think it's fair to hit that under. Like you said, I mean, the market share trending up for Brent Wesco, TJ Moore. Yes, some of that could come with a decreased emphasis on the tight end position. Some of those depth wide receivers having even a lesser and lesser role. Antonio Williams should still be out there, prominent role in the offense. And we expect Cade Klubnik. I think the one factor there is we expect even a better season out of him. Like last year, he had a good season, and they could throw it even more. They don't have Phil Maffa this season to rely on. They have an injured Adam Randall, true freshman, Gideon Davidson, a second year guy who didn't do anything really last year, and David Ezimume. That running game is unproven at best. I think they're going to have to pass even more. There's a certainly a good shot that he could beat that, get into the 800-yard range for sure in that regular season. So I'm tempted to take the over, but I can see either way on that. But that's a little bit of a devil's advocate for like he's going to continue to be a pretty important piece in this offense, even with some other talented guys around him.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Andy's answer here. I think that if anything, he barely crested 800 in the regular season last year. I don't see his target share rising or even staying the same necessarily. I believe that we have better talent in the receivers around him, and that we'll be seeing those players taking a giant step forward as younger players rather than we will see Antonio Williams take a step forward as a senior. That being said, and once again, I'm not picking on them. I'm using them as a resource, but campus2canton.com is saying that Antonio Williams is the wide receiver 11 in CFF rankings for this upcoming season. So we have to look at it as one of two ways. Either Antonio Williams is going to do much better than Andy and I are expecting, or this college football season is going to be really bad as far as production goes. If we're looking at 800 yards receiving as our 11th wide receiver, I don't know if that's going to be great for college football purposes. So I think I would lean more towards it's the known player and they're just sticking with it. But I think there's definitely some changes that have happened to Clemson and getting you see a big step forward in sophomore seasons for these players and these true freshmen. Everyone loves the 2027 class. Well, guess how that 2027 class becomes the 2027 class that we want it to be by those sophomores actually taking a step forward and taking more of a target share and doing all that kind of stuff. So this isn't to say that Antonio Williams is terrible. This isn't to say anything like that. I don't think that he's anything special, and so I think those other players can actually do a little bit more. And so I'm betting the under. He barely crested that last year. If he even did, we didn't get an exact number. He was right around the number. So I think that it's going to be extremely difficult for him to do it again this season. And that's also he's also missed some time over his career as well with some injuries and stuff like that. So that's not even really even talking about, oh, he could obviously have another injury or miss some more time, things like that. So I think that's another easy under, which is why I wanted to bring it up because I don't know. Clearly, looking at the CFF ranks and stuff, I don't think it would be considered an easy under for a lot of people, but yet I feel that way at the very least. And it seems like Andy's kind of on board as well.
Yeah, and those are fair points as well as far as the health history, injury, just probability of like what are the chances a guy plays every single game, doesn't get nicked up at some point or miss a game here or there. He's going to need to be pretty perfect to hit that. But again, with the step forward with Cade Klubnik, I think he can certainly get there, even surpass 1,000 yards during the season, including playoffs. But it's hard to always project perfect outcome to happen. Right, things happen during the year.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we went over on this one, but we were having some fun with some betting lines and making fun of Kenyon Sadiq and all that kind of good stuff. So we do appreciate you guys listening. It's been a lot of fun. Guess what? Week 0 is here. Though the next time you hear our voices, we will have watched some sort of football happen, college football happen. And in fact, we have some okay games. That next Thursday, getting into that next week, actually, we have some pretty nice weeks. Week 1 games that will be exciting, but week 0 at least, give us a little taste, get us back into the swing of things and all that. But more importantly, we have to round things out and see. I believe Andy got 2 points for guess the guy last time, and then no 1 point.
No, I
Was it
only
one
got
point?
one. Yeah, I
Okay, so
think
Andy got
that
one.
puts.
Aaron just got 2. He's now in the lead. And now it basically comes down to what can I do? Because if I get 2, then Aaron and I tie, and we'll have to figure out a tiebreaker. Or if I get 1, then or if I get anything beyond above 2, obviously I'm good to go. If I get 2, we're tied, and if I get 1, then Aaron is our clear winner. So we will have to see what happens on Guess the Guy next week. It'll be our last one for the off season, and then we'll figure out if we want to continue it in season or if we just have too much information going on, all that kind of stuff, and it just wants to be an off season thing. We'll figure that out as it goes. Um, Aaron, you missed a week, so give us some words of wisdom before we get out of here.
Yes. Well, we looked back at, or I'm going to say that there's been some looking back on the timeline, some past supplemental drafts, those types of things. And it makes you realize that even when you hit on quote unquote good players or good, maybe prospects earlier in their college career, there's just a ton of different things that can happen to impede their ultimate translation to the NFL. So you can have really great supplemental drafts. You can project these guys to have awesome seasons, but we know that stuff comes up. So just keep that in mind when you're doing some of the betting, when you're taking some of the over unders that unfortunately just doesn't always pan out in that perfect way that we think it could unfold. So that's just a quick thought on some of these projections that we're doing.
Hey, I've done a lot of research on it, and these hit rates are not amazing. So, you ask people might ask, John, why do you get so excited when you hit on a player and things? Because there's not that many hits in C2C and CFF and all that kind of stuff. So when you hit, it's actually pretty damn exciting.
And
All right.
And to add
Okay.
one thing with it too, it is only that sometimes these guys come out of nowhere, and it's not a true nowhere. In a lot of the cases, we've seen a little bit of production here or there, but these huge rises, meteoric rises, the Jordan Tysons of the world, the Tyler Warrens of the world, these guys were not, talked about as these big time assets, but um, trying to do the research, keeping your ear to the news, to the hype that's going on in spring camps and then fall camps, etc. That's how you can find maybe that next breakout player. So obviously you got to have, you got to put a little bit of time into the research, but there's ways to take some shots here, and you never know what will happen. Some of these guys can go from having a very mediocre season to a meteoric rise to superstar status.
Like Aaron said, the only thing you need is the Devi devotional and nothing else. So we appreciate you guys listening. Obviously, make sure you're subscribed everywhere. Check out the Gridiron Ratings YouTube channel so that you can watch us live, interact with us while we're doing it. Check out Dynasty League Football, where you can find my rankings, my Devi rankings, and also, the homepage for the Devi Devotional podcast and all that kind of stuff. Appreciate DLF, appreciate Gridiron Ratings, appreciate Andy and Aaron. But for now, we're going to go ahead and cash out. See you guys.